In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, asking where the child who has been born from King of the Jews. For we observed his star as its rising, and have come to pay him homage. When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all the Jerusalem with him, and calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. Then they told him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a Lord who is to shepherd my people, Israel. Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them exact time where the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me the word when you have found him, so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they sent out and there ahead of them, when the star that they had seen as it risen, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they kneeled down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chest, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road.
My mother was an adventurer. She was born and raised in Germany, born in 1927, immigrated to the United States, well actually to Canada and then to the United States. And one time I asked her, "Mom, why did you go to Canada from Germany? What a trip." She came by ship. And she said, "I just wanted to see a different part of the world. I wanted to do something different for a couple of years. And if I hadn't met your father and married him and chosen to live in the States, I probably would have gone back to Germany and lived. But I wanted to do something different." And I always think of my mom as an adventurer. And then she kind of confirmed this, or my little niece at the time, Alicia, confirmed it when I would go home for visits, and Alicia was about 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'd say, "Where have you and Nanny been?" We've been out on a car ride." I said, "Oh," and she said, "Yeah, Nanny says we were on an adventure. I think we were lost." But that's how I grew up. As Mom loved to take a different road, a different way to someplace where we were going. Just to see different things, to try a different way. What we discover. We might discover a place where we're going to picnic another time. Or one time we found this place, and Mom and I got out of the car, we walked through the woods, and we found this great moss-covered granite slab of rock. It was just so interesting. There was a stream going through it. So I really appreciate that my mother was an adventurer. And I think of these wise men, these astronomers, who for some reason had this message inside of them: you need to follow this star. And wherever it goes, you need to follow it. They had their gifts for astronomy. They knew how to follow the paths of the stars. They didn't know where they were going. And they were from the Middle East. They were probably from what we would call now Iran or Iraq, that area. So they weren't Jewish. They weren't familiar with the faith and religion of the Jewish people to this land where they were going. But something inside of them said, follow this star and go. And we're not quite sure how long it took them. I think, wow, what an adventure. But they did it. They went. They didn't have a clear road map. They didn't know what they were going to encounter. They went. And I imagine that they encountered quite a few surprises. And that's something that we have in common with them, is that we know that life is full of surprises, full of unexpected happenings and events, things that we don't anticipate. And we may hope for a predictable future, but you just don't know what life may bring. And some of us have had the heartache of being told that we have a chronic illness, or a loved one has a very debilitating disease. Some of us have had to deal with Alzheimer's with family members, or the loss of a job, the loss of livelihood. We've had to change course, and we've just had to somehow keep going and make it work. As a songwriter, Paul Simon, one of his lyrics to one of his songs is, we think we're gliding down the highway, but we're slip-sliding away. It's kind of like me when I hit a patch of ice on the sidewalk and down. I'm slip-sliding away when I thought, oh, I'm walking like a penguin like I was told to, and then my feet go from under me. The wise men didn't know what was in store until they actually got to the stable. They didn't know what they were going to find, but they trusted whatever the voice, I think it was the Holy Spirit that was in them. They trusted, and they kept going, and they kept going. And my hope is that from that we get a sense of trusting God to be with us even when we don't always know where we're going or what the journey has for us. Epiphany, which we celebrate today, is about alternative routes, about going other ways to get somewhere. And Epiphany celebrates God's revelation of Jesus, who is God with us, to people that you normally wouldn't expect to get that kind of revelation. I mean, shepherds who watch sheep, and probably maybe a 14-year-old girl who is with child and is supposed to get married and doesn't know what's going to happen, and a young man who is supposed to marry her and is wondering what is going on. And then these wise men from another country, another culture, they come along too, and God reveals God's self to them and says, here is the gift I have for you, that I will be with you in the form of this child who's going to grow up and teach you all about who I am. That's the gift. So my question to you is, can you trust the stars that are going to be guiding you in this coming year? And what might those stars be? Maybe the prayers of this congregation, or the wisdom of a good friend who knows you well, or your own, trusting your own wisdom and your own good sense and your own life experiences. Instead of doubting yourself, trusting yourself. And the Holy Spirit works through all of those things to guide us to the roads that we take, the unexpected ones as well as the familiar ones. When we're able to trust God and the Holy Spirit and Jesus who's working in our lives, we learn that nothing is the same, and that we many times find ourselves going another way. And so you pack and you leave on your journey, the journey where Christ is not only waiting, but walking at your side. Can we trust that? And you follow the light as it closes the distance, as you get closer and closer, although you don't know quite when the end of that journey will be. And that light reaches deep within you. The Holy Spirit reaches deep within you and helps you become aware of the gifts that you have to make those journeys. Epiphany reminds us that even when we're on a road that is very unfamiliar and very strange and very scary, God is always with us. Maybe not in ways we recognize, or it may be that we look back and see, well, God was with me, I just didn't realize it at that time. And I'm going to remember that and take that with me. The wise men were open to following the star. And the message of Epiphany is that we need to trust to follow God who guides us. Sometimes it's by another road, a road we didn't expect. But in that experience, in that journey, in that adventure, we are going to learn new things about ourselves and about God and who God is for us. And that is a gift. So my prayer for all of us in this new year and from this Epiphany Sunday on is that we trust ourselves, that we be brave, and that we trust God. Amen.